"You're paying for the wedding," my mom said, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I blinked. My fork hovered mid-air, a piece of overcooked chicken sliding off the tines and landing back on my plate with a soft thud. "I'm sorry?" I asked, even though I'd heard her perfectly. "You heard her," my dad added, not looking up from his glass of wine. "You're the one with the money." Ellis chuckled from across the table, thumbs flying over his phone. "Yeah, Raquel, you make like 6 figures, right? It's not a big deal." I looked at each of them. My mother, in her Sunday pearls, hair sprayed into a helmet, smiling like this was a normal conversation. My father, half listening, already mentally back in his recliner. And Ellis, my golden boy baby brother, still in his hoodie, not even pretending to be present. "My name's Raquel," I said, mostly to myself. "I'm 32, single, and apparently the family ATM. Nobody laughed. Clara, Mom, leaned forward, elbows on the table like we were negotiating a car deal. "It's not like we're asking you to pay for everything," she said, tapping her manicured nails on the table. "Just the essentials. The venue, the catering, the photographer, the dress, the DJ, the flowers, the—" "That's everything," I said. "Well, Harmony has a vision," she snapped, "and Ellis deserves a special day." "Harmony wants a champagne wall and a live harpist," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "That's not a wedding. That's a music video." Ellis shrugged. "She's got taste. You wouldn't get it." I clenched my jaw. "How much are we talking?" Clara smiled like she'd won something. 48,000. I laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind that slips out when your mind is trying to protect itself from a stroke. "You're serious?" "Of course we are," Patrick said. "You don't have a husband or kids. You've got nothing tying you down. What's the point of all that money if not to help your family?" There it was, the line, the one they always used when they wanted something. I'd heard it when they needed help with their mortgage, when Ellis totaled his car, when Mom's boutique went under, when Dad's consulting gig dried up. I was the fallback plan, the invisible net, the good daughter. "Ellis is our future," Clara said, like I hadn't just paid off their second mortgage 3 years ago, like I hadn't skipped vacations, birthdays, and sleep to make sure they stayed afloat. Ellis finally looked up. "You're not going to be weird about this, right?" I stared at him, at the man-child who still lived in the guest house, who hadn't held a job longer than a year, who once asked me to Venmo him money for emotional labor. "No," I said, smiling. "I'll take care of it." Clara beamed. "I knew you'd do the right thing." Ellis went back to his phone. Patrick poured himself more wine. The conversation moved on to linen colors and signature cocktails, and I sat there, nodding, smiling, letting them believe I was still their puppet. But in my mind, they'd just signed their eviction notice. 5 years ago, my parents were broke. Not just cutting back on dinners out. Broke, I mean foreclosure notices, collection calls, and my mom crying in the laundry room broke. "Raquel, we're going to lose the house," she'd said over the phone, her voice cracking like she was the victim of some natural disaster and not 2 decades of bad spending habits. "We just need a little help." I was 27, working 70-hour weeks at a cybersecurity firm, eating ramen in a studio apartment while sending them money every month. I didn't even ask how much they owed. I just said, "Let me look into it." That's how I ended up owning their house. It was my lawyer friend Sierra who made it happen. She sat across from me at a diner, sipping a Diet Coke, flipping through the paperwork. "They're signing it over to you," she said. "That's the only way this works. You buy it outright, pay off the bank, and lease it back to them for $1 a year. You sure you want to do this?" "They'll be on the street if I don't." Sierra raised an eyebrow. "You're saving them. Again. Just make sure you keep the deed somewhere safe." I did. I kept everything. Emails, signatures, payment receipts. I even had the check image from the down payment I made to the bank. They called it a temporary solution, Tax benefits, they said. Just a formality. And once the paperwork was filed, they forgot, like I'd never saved them at all. Last week I called Sierra. I need the deed, I said, and the lease agreement. Something happened? I paused. Let's just say I'm done being generous. She didn't ask questions. She never did. That's why I trusted her. We met at her office. She handed me a manila envelope thick with documents. Everything's clean, she said. You're the sole owner. No liens, no disputes. They signed it all willingly. Good. Are you selling it? I nodded. She stared at me for a second, then leaned back in her chair. I've waited 10 years to see you put yourself first. I'll get you a referral. On the drive home, I called Cameron James, a real estate agent Sierra had recommended. Discreet, fast, no drama. He picked up on the second ring. This is Cameron. Hi, I have a property I'd like to sell. Quietly. Address? I gave it. He whistled. That neighborhood's hot. You'll get offers fast if the paperwork's clean. It is. Okay, I'll run comps and send you a listing draft by tomorrow. You want to do showings or just go straight to cash buyers? Cash, no showings. You got it. I hung up and stared at the dashboard. My hands were shaking, just a little. Not from nerves, from relief. 2 days later, Cameron called. I've got a buyer, he said. Full cash offer. Wants to close in 3 weeks. I didn't hesitate. Accept it? You sure? They'll be out by then. He paused. You want me to handle the notice? No, I said. I'll let the paperwork do the talking. After I hung up, I pulled the envelope out of my bag and laid it on the kitchen table. The deed sat on top, my name in bold black letters. They'd forgotten who saved them, but I hadn't. And now they were going to remember. Raquel, babe, you have to try this cake, Harmony said, waving a fork in my face like it was a magic wand. It's passion fruit with champagne buttercream. So chic, right? I smiled politely and took the tiniest bite. It was fine, sweet and expensive, like everything else on the tasting table. Harmony clapped her hands. Ugh, I knew you'd get it. You have such elevated taste. I told Ellis, I was like, Raquel's gonna make this wedding next level. Across the table, her bridesmaids nodded like backup singers, all of them in matching blush jumpsuits, sipping mimosas like their lives depended on it. I glanced at the planner's clipboard. The tally was already pushing 60 grand. Custom floral arch, drone videography, imported linens, a horse-drawn carriage, just for the entrance. Ellis is so lucky to have you, one of the bridesmaids said, leaning toward Harmony. Harmony tossed her hair. Well, he's a work in progress, but I'm investing in his potential. I looked at her, eyebrows raised. She laughed. I mean, you know, he just needs a little polish. Once the wedding's done and the baby comes, he'll settle down. Baby? I asked. Oh, not yet, she said quickly. But eventually. I mean, what else is there, right? The bridesmaids giggled. I took another sip of flat champagne. After the tasting, we walked through the venue, a converted vineyard with chandeliers in the trees and a koi pond shaped like a heart. Harmony was already talking about signature cocktails named after their future children. Ellis showed up halfway through, late and sunburned, wearing board shorts and flip-flops. Yo, he said, fist-bumping the planner. This place is sick. Harmony rolled her eyes. Did you bring the guest list? He pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. It's mostly my boys. You can just copy-paste from my birthday party. I watched them bicker over whether DJ Rays could play until 2 a.m. without a noise permit. No one asked my opinion. No one even looked at me unless it was to confirm I was still paying. Afterward, I sat in my car with the AC blasting, scrolling through my camera roll. I'd taken photos of the planner's invoice, the cake contract, the deposit slip. I texted them to Sierra. She replied almost instantly. Got them. This is a gold mine. Then, you sure you want to go through with this? I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. They think I'm a bank. I'm done being their investment. That night, I wrote the check. $48,000. I sealed it in an envelope and dropped it off at the planner's office the next morning. She smiled so wide, I thought her face might crack. You're such a blessing to your family, she said. I nodded. She had no idea. No one did. The champagne wall was taller than me. Real bottles, too, not props. Each one tucked into a gold-rimmed shelf like a trophy. Guests were already lining up, giggling as they pulled them down and posed for selfies in front of the floral monogram. Smile, Raquel, Harmony chirped, dragging me into a photo with her and 3 of her bridesmaids. I smiled. The camera flashed. She didn't wait to see if I liked the picture. The ceremony had been exactly what I expected. Dramatic, overdone, and about as heartfelt as a perfume commercial. Ellis cried, though. That part surprised me. Not sure if it was from love or the realization that Harmony had officially become his new boss. Now we were deep into the reception. Golden drapes, floating candles, a jazz trio playing a slowed-down version of No Scrubs. I stood near the bar, watching it all like someone watching a movie they didn't audition for. My parents were glowing. Clara was in a floor-length navy gown, holding court near the sweetheart table, bragging about the family's generosity. Patrick was telling anyone who'd listen that Ellis was on the verge of a big career move, whatever that meant. Ellis passed by me on his way to the dance floor, giving me a lazy fist bump. Thanks again, sis, he said. You really came through. Of course, I said. He was gone before I finished the sentence. Harmony found me again near the end of dinner. She had a flute of rosé in one hand and a smear of lipstick on her teeth. You know, she said, leaning in like we were best friends, we've got to find someone for you. You're too pretty to be single forever. I'm good, thanks. No, seriously, you're not getting any younger, she said, laughing like it was a joke. I mean, you've got the money, the brains. Now you just need the ring. I looked at her, then down at my empty glass. I'll keep that in mind. She patted my arm like I was a sad aunt at a family reunion. You'll find someone. Don't give up. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. Outside, the air was cool and smelled like eucalyptus and smoke. Someone lit sparklers. A drone buzzed overhead, capturing the magic. I pulled out my phone. One new email. Subject, funds received. Property sale complete. I opened it. The wire transfer had gone through. The buyer officially took possession on Monday. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then slipped the phone back into my clutch. Inside, Ellis and Harmony were slow dancing under a canopy of fairy lights. I raised a glass of untouched champagne toward them and whispered, "To liberation." Then I smiled. Not for the photos. For me. My phone started ringing at 7:12 a.m. on Tuesday. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Then a text. Mom, call me right now. Something's wrong with the mail. We got some kind of notice? I got up, made coffee, and sat on the couch with my laptop. Another text came through. Mom, it says we have 30 days to vacate the house. What the hell is going on? Then a call from Dad. Decline. Then Ellis. I finally picked up Clara's 4th call. Raquel, thank God, she said, voice shrill and cracking. We just got this letter saying we're being evicted. It has your name on it. Is this some kind of mistake? No, I said calmly. Silence. What do you mean, no? I sold the house. A beat. Then, you what? I sold it. The new owner takes possession next month. You can't do that. This is our house. We've lived here for 20 years. No, I said. I've owned it for 5. You signed it over. Remember? Tax purposes? That was different. That was temporary. No, it wasn't. You didn't even tell us. I didn't need to. Patrick's voice cut in from the background. You're out of your mind. You think you can just throw us into the street? You asked for help. I gave it. You forgot that part. You're punishing us because you're bitter, Clara hissed, because you can't stand to see Ellis happy. I almost laughed. This isn't about Ellis. It's about boundaries. You heartless little... I hung up. The next call came from Ellis. Ellis. Yo, is this a joke? I didn't answer. Ellis. Seriously? You're kicking Mom and Dad out? Ellis. After everything they've done for you? Ellis. You're messed up. I blocked his number. Then I turned off my phone and took my coffee out to the balcony. The sun was just coming up, casting gold over the rooftops. I breathed, not deeply, not dramatically, just normally, for the first time in a long time. That afternoon, I checked my DMs. There was one from River. River. Hey, I heard about the wedding. Saw a few pics. You looked different, lighter. Hope you're good. I stared at the message for a while. Then I typed back, I am. And for once, it was true. By Friday, the fallout was in full swing. I was in line at the dry cleaner when Sierra called. Turn on the local news, she said. Channel 7. I pulled it up on my phone. There, in front of a city hall, was my mother, sobbing into a tissue, makeup streaked, surrounded by reporters. They blindsided us, she cried. My daughter, my own daughter, sold our home out from under us. We're being thrown out like trash. The reporter nodded solemnly. And you had no idea? None, Clara sniffled. She didn't even tell us, after everything we've done for her. Behind her, Patrick stood stiffly, arms crossed, eyes darting between the cameras. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I turned the volume down and paid for my clothes. By the time I got back to my apartment, the story was on 3 gossip blogs and a Reddit thread titled, Rich Daughter Evicts, Parents After Brother's Wedding. The comments were split. Half were calling me a monster. The other half were practically building me a statue. Then Harmony posted a video to her story. I just want stability, she said, eyes wide and glassy. I can't raise a family in chaos. I didn't sign up for this. She was sitting in a car, lip gloss perfect, holding a Starbucks cup like it was a lifeline. I watched it twice. Then I checked Ellis's socials. Nothing. Until a screenshot landed in my inbox from someone anonymous. Porn Chi subject. You might want to see this. It was an internal email from Ellis's job. HR had launched an investigation into unauthorized use of company funds for personal events. Apparently, he'd put some of the wedding expenses on a company card. The email ended with, effective immediately, Ellis is no longer employed with us. I stared at the screen. Then I laughed. A short, bitter breath of air. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt still, like the noise had finally stopped. That night, I met River for coffee. He was already at the cafe, sitting outside with his hands wrapped around a mug. You look different, he said when I sat down. Yeah? Peaceful. I stirred my drink. It's been a week, he smiled. I remember when you used to cancel dates because your mom needed help with a crisis that turned out to be a broken curtain rod. I rolled my eyes. Don't remind me. You were always the fixer. Not anymore. He nodded. I can see that. We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk by. A couple laughed across the street. A kid dropped his ice cream. I'm proud of you, River said. I looked at him. Not for what you did, for finally choosing yourself. I didn't say anything, but I didn't disagree. I was brushing my teeth when the buzzer rang. It was almost midnight. I checked the screen. Ellis. I stared at the monitor for a second, toothbrush still in my mouth, foam dripping down my chin. He buzzed again. I pressed the intercom. What do you want? Please, he said, voice cracking. Just let me up. I hesitated, then hit the button. A minute later, he was at my door, swaying slightly, eyes red. He smelled like whiskey and regret. Can I come in? He asked. I stepped aside. He dropped onto my couch like his legs gave out. His hoodie was stained, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. Harmony left, he said. I sat across from him, silent. She said I wasn't stable enough. Said she needed someone who could provide. She took her stuff this morning. He laughed, dry and hollow. She even took the blender. I waited. Mom and Dad are living in some church friend's basement. It's got one bathroom and no heat. They keep asking me what the plan is. He looked up at me, eyes full of something that might have been shame. I don't have a plan, Raquel. That's not my problem. He flinched. You really hate me that much? I shook my head. I don't hate you, Ellis. I just finally see you. He rubbed his face. I messed up, okay? I get it. I was dumb. I took advantage. You didn't take advantage, I said. You were handed everything. You were taught that I'd always be there to clean up your mess. He looked at the floor. I stopped being your sister, I said, the day you became my leech. He didn't respond. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he asked, So that's it? I stood. You need help, the kind I can't give you. He looked up at me, eyes glassy. I'm not your safety net anymore, I said. You'll have to figure it out. He nodded slowly, then got up and walked to the door. He paused. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. After he left, I grabbed my keys and drove. The house was dark when I pulled up, empty now. The porch light was off, and the windows were bare. I walked up the steps and unlocked the door. The air inside was stale. The furniture was gone, just indentations in the carpet where the couch used to be. I walked through the rooms slowly. Kitchen, living room. The hallway where I used to sit with my knees to my chest, listening to them yell about money. In the corner of what used to be my room, the paint was still chipped from where I'd once hung a shelf. I stood there for a minute. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door behind me, and walked away. The ocean was louder than I remembered. Waves crashed just a few feet from where I stood, barefoot in the sand, holding a paper cup of coffee from the little stand by the pier. A breeze tugged at my jacket, salty and cold, but not unpleasant. River jogged up behind me, breathless. Sorry, parking was a nightmare. You're fine, I said, handing him his coffee. He smiled and took a sip. Still drink it black, huh? Still hate cream. We walked along the waterline, slow, quiet. The sand was damp and firm beneath our feet. A few kids were building a lopsided castle nearby. A couple walked past us, holding hands, laughing about something only they understood. So, River said, kicking out a shell, how's the new office? Small, quiet, mine. He grinned. You finally started your own thing. Yeah, just a few clients so far, but I'm not rushing it. I'm proud of you, I nodded, sipping my coffee. We walked a little more before he asked, Have you heard from them? Not since Ellis showed up that night. He looked at me, eyebrows raised. He cried, I said. I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't save him. River nodded like he understood. We stopped near a rock jetty. I sat down on a flat boulder watching the tide roll in. I got a letter, I said. He sat beside me. From Ellis. He waited. It wasn't long. Just said he was sorry. Said he didn't expect forgiveness. Said he's working at a hardware store now. Saving up for his own apartment. River looked at me. You gonna write back? I shook my head. No. Why not? Because I don't need to. He didn't push. I pulled the letter from my bag. Folded. Soft at the edges. I held it for a second, then set it down on the rock beside me. The wind picked up, tugging at the paper. I didn't stop it. It lifted into the air, tumbled once, then blew out toward the water. We watched it go. River reached over, gently touched my hand. I didn't pull away. I'm not looking to be anyone's caretaker, I said. Good, he said. I'm not looking to be rescued. We sat there, quiet, letting the sounds fill the space between us. Waves, wind, laughter in the distance. I stood, brushing off my jeans. Ready? He stood too. Yeah. We walked back toward the pier, side by side. No promises, no wait, just peace. And as we reached the boardwalk, I heard my own voice in my head, clear, steady, final. Karma doesn't always come with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in silence and finds you exactly where you told it to.